What is good? Osiris here, stuck in the middle, and the fallout from the midterms is still going on. Looks like we just got notification that it's projected that the House will be going red. 219 is the total. They needed 218 to get the majority, but the fallout is really bad. It was a terrible election for MAGA. Great for the Uniparty though. So if you're a Uniparty guy, you should be celebrating, popping bottles. But there's an interesting thing that happened in Arizona. In Arizona, the Democrats only got 17% turnout on election day. Our elections since the pandemic are completely different animals. It's all about getting it in as early as often as possible with early voting, mail-in voting, drop-offs, all that kind of stuff. You've got to maximize that. And people in the GOP, populist people, are kind of debating this. In Maricopa County, only 17% of Democrats showed out on election day, but they're up over 50% so far with the votes counted. So a lot of people were like, hey, why doesn't the GOP? And someone on Twitter, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Ned Run, I'm just going to pronounce it Run, says everyone needs to stop complaining about Trump versus DeSantis in 2024 or candidate quality or anything else. None of that matters. The only thing that matters between now and 2024 is figuring out how we create our own early voting ballot harvesting machine. And my takeout, so he said, we got to do, if you say we as the right, populist right, basically, he says, we got to do what they do. But I talked about this going back. They have a bill in Congress where they want to make ballot harvesting legal or force it, not even make it. They want to force every state. This is the For the People Act. I did a video where I think I had COVID about a year ago on the For the People Act and talked about this. What is good? Osiris here, stuck in the middle. I'm going to do a deep dive, not too deep, on HR 1, S1. It's now in the Senate. This is the For the People Act. It's already been passed in the House. Now it's S1 because it's on the Senate side. You're hearing a lot about this. And this is really, to me, this was always the end game. This piece of legislation. 818 pages. And you see where this is going? Ballot harvesting. Democrats, this is, in my opinion, a dirty practice. It's one of the dirtiest practices in our election. They are setting it up for these ballot harvesters to be legal in every state. How do you think they're going to turn Texas blue? If they pass this and it's not overturned by SCOTUS, Texas is blue in a heartbeat, like that. Because what they can do is go to these urban areas. You go into these apartment complexes. Some of these apartment complexes have hundreds to thousands of people in them. When you look at people who are more conservative, sometimes they're living in the suburbs or even out in rural areas. You can be way more efficient by going into one of those housing complexes. Now, ballot harvesting is legal. So you're not supposed to fill out a ballot for anyone. That's supposed to be illegal, but how are we going to know? There's no camera there. There's nobody watching. They're making ballot harvesting legal. This is a fact check by Reuters. HR 1 would expand ballot collection. Already legal in more than half the states. They're trying to couch this. Well, so what? It's legal in more than half the states and illegal in the other half. It would not allow the tampering of votes. Of course it won't. But who's watching? So anyone, a paid campaign official could go into that apartment complex, knock on someone's door, senior citizen facility, knock on the door and say, hey, I know the chances are you're already registered. Where's your ballot at? Sweet talk them. Where's your ballot at? You go fill it out. You're not racist, are you? Nah, you're not going to vote for Trump. Come on, boo-boo. Vote for Michelle Obama. Vote for, I think it's going to be AOC. I know she scares you, but you're not going to vote for Trump. You're not going to vote for DeSantis. He's a white supremacist. Come on, girl. Come on, dude. Are you a traitor to your race? So they don't have to fill out the ballot, but who knows? We don't know if they're filling out the ballot. They could do that, and we would have no idea. Project Veritas did an expose on that. So you see it? Registrate. Now, this bill is S1. It's not the bills that are in the House. This is the wish list bill. So they're going to break down pieces of this bill and put it in other bills. But this is what they want. So it has become associated with the phrase ballot harvesting. If passed, the legislation would still be challenged in court and will not be a part of the US Constitution, meaning that none of its provisions would be enshrined. What does that mean? It would still be legal. This bill would make it legal. Activist groups of all stripes have long provided ballot collection to increase voter turnout. It's always for a good reason. And Republicans can't do this. Republicans don't have a base, or America First candidates don't have a base that are hooked up in senior citizen facilities with hundreds to thousands of people where you can just go door to door, second after second. In an hour, how many doors can you knock? If you go into the suburbs or a rural area, how many doors can you knock in an hour? It's a numbers game. Of late, some conservatives have raised concerns about the potential for fraud or vote tampering in ballot collection and have labeled it ballot harvesting. You can call it whatever you want. Ballot collection opponents say third parties would fail to return ballots where they disagree with the votes or file ballots for imaginary voters. Of course they could. You've got all kinds of votes being printed everywhere and all over the place. There's no cross checks. There's no auditing. This is one of my pet peeves. So you have until 10 days after the election to count mail-in ballots. They call them absentees, whatever. It's mail-in ballots. You can't. Everyone is entitled for a mail-in ballot for any reason. I'm actually fine with that if you show me an auditing process to make sure that there's no. So if you can't do that, then I'm not for it. So any general election, you will not know the final results until 10 days after the date of the election. Do you know how easy it is to backdate? And you have to be dated by the election date. You know how easy it is to backdate mail-in ballots, drop them off. And then after the election day, you know what votes you need. I'm not saying anything like that happened. I'm just saying it sets it up so it could. That's what it is. It's an unlawful plan to federalize elections. They want ballot harvesting. This is not combating Democrats to say, let's ballot harvest like they do. They want to do that. You can't, unless you are an establishment Democrat, there are no apartment complex that you can just run up in and run up out with thousands of votes. That's cheap. So you have to look at it for dollar per vote. People wonder why doesn't the GOP go after the black vote more? You know why? Because they have to spend more money per vote. So it's too expensive. They'd rather go after the suburban vote or whatever else. These people who identify themselves as in all these different groups. It's too expensive. It's not cost effective. It's not efficient. The GOP will never be able to ballot harvest in rural areas where you've got homes that are further away. Even in suburban areas where there's homes next to each other, you can't beat going into I used to live in an apartment complex. I think we had like 3,000 people. It was crazy in Euclid, Ohio. You could just run up in there with a few people, very cheap, knock on doors. Have you filled out your ballot yet? No. Okay, I know, in the area where you have these, nobody's MAGA. So you're like, I know you're voting Democrat. I know you're just doing D all the way down. Go ahead, fill it out. And if it's legal, they'll just take it and do whatever they want to do with it. If it's not legal, they might bend the rules. They might drive you they'll figure out a way to get you. They might walk you through it and make sure you put it in the mail. So those are the things that they are able to do before the election day. I wondered why Federbot did so well. The debate didn't even play a factor, I don't think, in Federbot because a lot of people had already made up their mind, already gotten their vote in. They had early voting. That's why he kept pushing it back. It was brilliant. They ran that. They played that brilliantly, and you see what's playing out here. So I just want to end that thought. You can go for early vote. You can try to do better there, but that's not going to be the answer. You Blake Masters versus Mark Kelly, for example. Let's look at the Mark Kelly versus Blake Masters race. Mark Kelly raised about $80 million. He didn't spend it all, spent about 73, but let's just look at what they raised. Mark Kelly raised about 80 million and Blake Masters raised about 12 million. He got outspent by about $68 million. How are you going to build a ballot harvesting type of campaign when it's cheaper for Democrats to do it and they're outspending you by $68 million in one Senate race? That's not the way. So what's the answer? I don't know why we're scared to talk about secession. The answer is federalism. The answer has always been there. It is the problem. Don't think Florida is safe with DeSantis. It looks strong now. DeSantis is not going to be there forever. I don't know who's going to take over after him. And we saw Democrats use money from a Ponzi scheme to boost them up in the midterms. They did the same thing with Black Lives Matter. So they can do whatever they need, and nothing's going to happen. So you can do whatever you want. Yeah, there's more consequences for yay than it is for Democrats, Bidens, Clintons, all that involved with just the most dirty of illegal stuff. No impeachments, no hearings, none of that happening. So Florida is not safe. They could jimmy up the next Ponzi scheme, the next thing, next black person that gets shot into money, and then say, we're going to focus on Florida. We're going to get that up out. We're going to break that up. That is possible. So I know they got strong laws, but no state is safe. And the feds rolled up in Mar-a-Lago where Trump was. So Florida is not that safe. They rolled up on the president. They could do whatever they want to do. If they can roll up on the president for no legitimate reason, they can roll up on anybody in Florida for any reason. And DeSantis didn't say not much of a peep after that, mind you. The one that a lot of people are saying this is the big strong DeSantis. I was on Twitter angrier than he was when Trump got raided. The answer is we got to focus on the states. Federalism, making sure your state, when you vote, that you've got the GOP in the state, the right GOP in the state, MAGA, populist GOP, in your state legislative bodies. That's the most important piece right here to make the states stronger. The Convention of States is not, I'm not for the convention. I like the idea of Convention of States because that is getting state power, and you need state power to even get to that point. But a Convention of States is just an amendment to the Constitution. The Constitution is not worth anything right now. It's just being violated, and literally people are just taking dumps on it. We've got to get more power in the states. So that's why Kari Lake is so important. Kari Lake's like, I'm going to do my own border. Damn that. Damn the federal government isn't doing what they're supposed to do. I'm going to take care of the border. I'm going to take care of this. I'm going to build a strong state. So you have Ron DeSantis is important in Florida. You need strong states. And then at that point, states can say, in Texas and others, can say, you know what, this relationship isn't working. If you aren't going to prosecute people who we know have done illegal things to corrupt our process of picking people to run for office, then we are out. I don't know why people like Ned are afraid to say that. If you have a better idea, I am always open to, if somebody, the only thing I'm married to is the best idea. So if you've got a better idea than focusing on state power to combat overreach on the federal level, let me know. But GOP ballot harvesting is not the answer, guys. I hope that's clear. What else do I need to do to let you know that that's not clear? It's too expensive. You're already getting outspent. That you can try to get better at that. I'm not saying you shouldn't. Let me know what you think. I'm not saying you shouldn't get better at it. I'm just saying that's not the answer. Let me know what you think. Take care.